Good morning, Dima.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Okay, what's the weather like in San Diego?
Well, it's oh, now I'm becoming the weather woman. It looks good. It's a little, I don't know. The sun is not out yet, but it will.
The sun will always come out, Dima, from what I understand, and it's going to be a bright and shiny day today because we have a very special guest.
We've been waiting for a week. Let's bring our guest.
Oh, I don't even want to. Yeah, let's get to it, okay? I miss me some Liz Smith. Let's get her on from BRAC, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Liz. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to see you both.
Good morning, friend.
Good morning.
Can we pretend like we're at White Star Market right now?
We can, absolutely. I'm in.
Like we're there. We met there. We're going to get some breakfast or some brunch. You know, we have a meeting later.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. I just want to set the tone.
I want those falafel waffles. I used to buy there. So good.
Falafel waffles?
From there.
Yeah, amazing.
That's the best name ever. that could be a good password. Falafel waffle 2020 exclamation. Yeah.
Now everybody knows your passwords, Rob.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll find you
early. I'll have to change that.
So Liz, how have you been? I know you're so busy. So, but tell us, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I think I'm doing as well as everybody else is who's doing their best to get through all of this. It's a stressful time. There's so much that everybody is dealing with. And everybody's situation is different. Certainly, work-life balance has been a big topic of discussion here in the Smith residence. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You must be the only one having issues.
Of course, yeah. It's just me, for sure.
Do you remember 2 years ago when there was an interview on the BBC and the man they were interviewing him, his 2 kids walked in and it went viral and we laughed about him. None of us imagined that 2 weeks later that's going to become our life.
No, and isn't it just our life right now? I mean, I think I've done so many conference calls with my kid in my lap. My boss actually has a little avatar. It's a red stick, right? That comes up on the screen during our conference calls. And my son likes to sit in my lap and say, how does that stick just talk so much?
The talking stick, not just a walking stick.
Correct.
Makes sense to me. I mean, that's,
What?
Y'all might have invited my studio audience because I just heard, we were talking about this. We might have jinxed ourselves.
That's his kids.
I felt the door open.
It's like a disturbance in the force.
See, now I'm on high alert. This is like real. This is going to be PTSD for all parents. Parents traumatized by social distancing. That's going to be the new PTSD.
It's a good one. Nice moniker.
That is so.
I mean, Dima told me that she actually misses the live studio audience, if you can believe it.
I do.
Wow.
Because the first 2 or 3 weeks downstairs in the kitchen, or not the kitchen, but that was the first week actually. But week 2 and 3 and 4, the transition from the dining room, like different corners of the dining room that was open. I don't know if that made sense, but it was like to block off, the potential of a kid or a human walking by, maybe not clothed or saying something. So it was a transition, and she misses that. Jeremy Coco isn't delivering me some food in the middle of a broadcast, or the UPS guy didn't ding dong leave a package at the front.
So much quieter.
Live commentary from the wife and kids. So she misses that.
Yeah,
Are you going to miss that?
I do. It's amazing. And his daughter walking with her doll that has shadows so black all over her, as if she's been beaten by somebody, but it's beautiful.
It was a Barbie doll that's when the kids.
What has been your favorite crazy thing that happened?
Oh gosh, my favorite crazy thing that happened. It really hasn't been too crazy in this house. Every day is different. Every day is its own struggle and brings its own challenges. We have been doing our very best to try to figure out how to be teachers as well as employees, like so many others. And some days we do really well, and some days we do abysmally. And that's just the way it is. I will say I do enjoy my son barging into our office when we are both on conference calls, trying not to talk over each other. My husband and I are sharing an office. And he'll run in with his little video game controller in his hand just because he needed to share that he got first place in his game. And he's just so proud. And he knows we kind of have a little protocol in our office. He comes in and he taps us on the shoulder very quietly, and he knows he has to whisper. And he comes over and says, "Mommy, I'm the winner," and then runs out.
That's great.
We're all winners, but that's like, that story is winning. I love that.
He's a sweet kid.
I mean, we're gonna miss this, Liz. It was kind of, just thrust upon us so fast, but this really has created some new dynamics that have been positive, and some that we've had to work through, right?
Yeah. On the one hand, my husband and I were talking about how this is the longest we've spent with our son all together since he was on maternity leave with me, right? Because he's been in daycare since he was 12 weeks old.
Yeah.
So we get this opportunity to spend time and watch him learn in a way we've never learned, and really be a bigger participant in that structural learning. And I think that, I try to remind myself that there are things that we should be very, very grateful for that are happening right now. And certainly that's one of them. But I know we're also trying to think about, and one of the things we're thinking about at BRAC is, how do we get people back into childcare? How do we get our kids back into childcare? What is that going to look like? Because it's just so critical for us as a workforce. For adults to go back to work, kids have to go back into care. Yeah. And so what is that going to look like? And are people ready to take advantage of childcare providers right now?
Yeah.
What does consumer confidence look like in terms of using childcare to watch your kids?
And
another
thing is, what are the providers doing to ensure that the kids continue to stay safe? So they need to do so much more. It's not just taking the kid, spending day with them, and then giving them back to the parents. Like their cleanness, all of this that we never have thought about it. And when I look at what we're experiencing right now, I don't think we've ever imagined it would happen, or I don't think any of us are prepared for this. We're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's a conversation that every industry is having. In our safe at work framework that we put together, one of the things that we talk about is all of the enhanced health and safety activity that needs to take place in every single industry, and how that can look different for every single industry. I will say, as a parent and as someone who's been spending a little bit of time talking with childcare providers and the Department of Education and others who are working on this problem, childcare providers are already at a heightened level of health and safety, right? They are used to being both highly regulated and having to put a lot of protocols and have protocols in place already around when do you wear gloves and what kind of cleaning needs to happen. And so if there's an industry that's like pretty prepared to have those enhanced level of protocols, the childcare industry is ready, right? They know how to do it. They do need guidance on how to do it right, so that they can be prepared for COVID. But I'm also, we've also seen that there are a lot of childcare providers that are open right now. They're serving essential workers' children, but they're open right now, and they're learning as they go. And so when we get to that stay-at-home order being ended, hopefully we're going to be able to see that they can ramp up relatively quickly. I know that there's guidance out there. The Department of Education and others are working on providing that guidance. But it's as you say, so critical.
I love that you bring that up, because childcare is important. Everyone's feeling that right now for the most part. If you're a caregiver, parent, grandparent, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But what does matter is returning back safe. And what does matter is that they've been positioned and poised because their handbooks have policies that have said probably from day one that, right, if there's, any potential of diarrhea, or, I mean, we don't need to go in like all the, the really
all the stuff that parents know,
the detailed stuff. But let's be honest, we're talking about a virus that kills people. But those policies that say you can't have fever, right? If you were sick 24 hours before, don't come to daycare. I myself had been caught up where that was extremely inconvenient at times. And it feels like those policies, like, come on. I mean, it might have been the food you gave them at lunch. They weren't sick when I put them there. But now we can all take that a little more serious, right? And I hope so, because I wouldn't want just because someone needs to return to work, or they're tired of their kids being at home and the stress of everything, to send their kids back into that environment. And then, even though the precautions and policies might be in place, that we could be putting other children and other families at risk. So this is so important, and we need to take this, like what you have in the framework, the Safe at Work, reopening of the economy on BRAC's website is incredible. You address some of these concerns, and we've got to be thinking about all this. But I really hope that people take it more serious when, if you do have a fever, you're not going into work. If your child's sick, we're going to need to take the time to care for them and not send them back out into the wild, playing on the play gyms and with their kids at daycare. So I'm so glad you bring this up, Liz. We're feeling these stresses, but we're not all talking about what it takes to return to something that makes sense.
Yeah. I think with everything that's going to be required for return to work, and all of the health and safety procedures and protocols that we know businesses are already putting into place and will continue to put into place and enhance, a lot of it is going to require that we continue to take the same kind of individual precautions that we've been taking, right? And so one of the things that we say in the framework is that we have seen from essential industries staying open that you can be working and also be safe at home. So you can be safe at home and safe at work at the same time. And so that's just going to require a lot of individual decision making to do exactly what you say, which is be aware of how your decisions are impacting the health and safety of others, and take some common sense precautions. That, coupled with following guidance from CDC or OSHA or other accepted authorities, is going to be key to moving forward on an economic recovery.
Yeah. So what tips do you have personally for business owners that are about to start reopening, or they're ready as soon as they get the approval?
Well, even today we have some businesses opening on the patio, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And using the parking too.
We do, in fact, yeah. We urge people to look to those authorities like the CDC, like OSHA, and start putting a plan into place for what makes sense for your business. Start looking at where you're going to secure personal protective equipment, and understand again that that's not, the N95 level masks, but it is things that are going to allow you to sanitize surfaces. It is things like cloth masks, and start making those decisions about what is going to make sense for your business. What kind of occupancy is going to make sense for your business? How can you lay out traffic flows in your business? There's a lot of guidance that is out there from respected authorities, the right authorities on these issues. And we would say, look to those, take them very seriously, figure out what's going to work the best for you, and start putting a plan into place so that when May 15th rolls around and we hopefully enter phase 1 of a reopening, you can start rolling back into business, and then hopefully get into phase 2 and be in a very strong position when we get there, to be able to open in a way that's safe for your employees, your customers, and for the public.
Right.
And you've got to start planning for that now.
Absolutely.
Because I know I spent all last week trying to find PPE, and okay, another shout out to you, your team, your leadership at BRAC. I got a survey last night that asked me about my PPE needs for my business. I'm a BRAC investor. I highly encourage you to be one if you are not right now. But look, they've got this information out there now, and I was so glad that I was a part of this survey last night, asking me what my PPE needs, plans, or strategies were because that was last week for me, and that was stressful as hell. I mean, I'm going to be honest. That was insane trying to get the right price, or how much, or how long is this going to take. So really what I did as a business owner was get as much as I thought I could probably need for a few people to return and for 30 days. But that's just to have, because I don't know what it's going to look like in 2 weeks when people start returning and start using this stuff up. But I was asked, what are your plans? How much do you think you're going to get a month? Are you going to get masks, gloves, KN95? And thank you for sending that out. Thank you for asking for our input on that. And it looks like you guys might even be able to, hopefully, if at all possible, even we could maybe collaborate and do some bulk orders or share the load, because let's be honest, those daycare centers, this is cutting into their already low margins. So are the restaurants and everyone else out there that's feeling the pinch right now. So all this makes sense. And thank you for being concerned, Liz. Thank you, Adam. I mean, thank you, the amazing all-stars at BRAC, for thinking about this, because the thought leaders the emphasis on leaders, I'm sorry for ranting, because we need leadership right now that's thinking about this, because not everyone is.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have our CEO, Adam Knapp, is participating in the Louisiana Economic Recovery Task Force that is led by the Louisiana legislature. And so I listened in on their second meeting, which took place yesterday. They have split up into, I think, 5 or 6 different subgroups that are all working on different issues like this, looking at what the legislative policies and solutions need to be in order for us to have a strong recovery. And the PPE question was a big area of discussion during that call yesterday, right? And what is it going to take for us to provide that kind of protection for industries across the state of Louisiana? So we're really trying to be a convener of information. One of the best things that we can do as a Chamber of Commerce and an economic development organization is gather up information about your needs and the needs of other companies, so that we then can use the position that we have to be able to share that information with those who are able to put those into place in a strategic way, and to aid in that strategic solution and guide that strategic solution. So we're happy to be able to do that for this and so many other issues related to recovery from this virus.
Well, you mentioned legislation, Dima. I mean, do you have any opinions or comments on that? I mean, do you feel like it's important for them to convene and start, getting some of these ideas kind of ironed out, making policies?
Absolutely. With anything, we need policies, and absolutely. And it's great to see the task force coming together and bringing diverse backgrounds and ideas. So that is so powerful. So Liz, I have another question for you. And I know a lot of companies, they're looking right now into an option they never wanted to think about in the past, and it is layoffs. So for any organization that's thinking about that, and a lot of them are already doing it. So we heard about some this week, and it's always so shocking, because I know a lot of these organizations, they appreciate their teams, they value their teams, but they're in a place right now that they just cannot. Even with the PPP and everything else that we have. So what advice and what tips and what resources do you have for these employers and also for the employees?
Sure. Yeah. We have found it is an unfortunate byproduct of this stay-at-home order that so many businesses are struggling just to keep their doors open. And while the federal Paycheck Protection Program was offered as a way to help with that, to keep employees on the payroll, I think the uncertainty of when the stay-at-home order will expire has led to a lot of confusion about, well, not confusion, but uncertainty about when do I hire my employees back? The Paycheck Protection Program, in order for it to be a fully forgivable loan, you have to hire those employees back. You have to get to the same head count and to close to the same payroll number. But for many, it's a hard decision to make because you only have an 8-week period during which you can make those expenditures and have them forgivable. And so if you hire back too early and your business doesn't actually open, you're essentially hiring people back to do nothing, and you have no revenue coming in the door, which for some may be okay, but for others really means that all you're doing is delaying that eventual furlough or layoff, and or potentially having it happen twice. And it's complicated further by the unemployment insurance, right?
Yeah.
Unemployment insurance is being is higher in Louisiana and everywhere else in the country, because there's a federal supplement that's come through of $600, and it's flat. It's not based on wages. Yeah. And so, here in Louisiana, you could potentially have someone that's bringing in a weekly unemployment check of almost $850. When you think about someone who is working in a restaurant or working in childcare, and we don't pay those workers enough, right? But working in childcare, $845 a week annualized is $44,000 a year in a state where the median income is $46,000 a year, right? So there's there's difficulty there for employers who are saying, on the one hand, they're people and they really care about the people who work for them, and they want them to be able to bring in as much money every week as possible. And if that means that you should stay on unemployment to make that money, then morally, that's what I want for the people that I have a responsibility to. But on the other hand, I need my business to be up and running, and I want to have a forgivability of this loan that I just took from the federal government. And so I want to be able to pay that loan back or have forgiveness on that loan. And so making that decision about what do I do? Do I bring people back? Do I not bring people back is very difficult. And I will say that, going back to childcare, that is a problem that childcare centers and center leaders are having as well, because we grossly underpay the people who take care of our young children, right?
It's ridiculous.
And that unemployment benefit is quite a bit higher for many of them than coming back and working. And so when you balance that and the critical nature of getting those employees back to work so that the rest of the employees out here can get back to work, and that increased unemployment benefit, it's a really tough situation.
Right.
I know way too many businesses and too many friends now that are in every one of those boats. And man, it is so we do not pay those folks enough for what they do. And they are taking care of our most vital asset, our family, at these development ages that are crucial.
Yeah.
We want to have them in the best possible hands, and they, making less than $10 an hour ain't going to cut it. And them going back into a tough potential workplace with health concerns that might not have been there. Even that population that serves that, they're usually a little bit older, or maybe some of them have been retired and doing this on the side, So there's a lot of those Dima, your mom, her mom runs a child care center.
Oh, so
if this isn't closer to home right now in each one of our homes right now on this broadcast, and we're in a tough spot there, and you want these people them to get ahead, of course, and we all need that as society, and that's why we need leadership to bring us back in the right way with some thought and some rationale behind this.
Yeah. So I totally agree with everything you said. Like I watch my mom and I watch the parents and how terrified they are. And it is tough. So I want to shift a little to a different topic. And Liz, for business owners, I know BRAC, you and your team, you provided so much resources and a lot of support, webinars, a lot of things. So can you give us a highlight, main things that businesses need to be aware of, especially new things you may started doing the last couple of weeks?
Sure, absolutely. So as you say, we are offering a lot of webinars. We're trying to get as much information out to the business community as we possibly can. So one thing I want to say up front is that none of our recovery resources are behind any kind of a paywall.
Correct.
You don't have to be an investor to access them. You just go to brac.org/recovery and everything is there. You can get to all of our webinars for free. Just go ahead and register on that brac.org/recovery page. We have been really lucky this week. I keep telling my team the programming this week for webinars has just been top notch. So on Monday, we had Dr. Stephen Barnes, who runs the Blanco Center for Public Policy out at ULL, come in and do a presentation on what does economic recovery look like. And so he had talked about comparisons between now and the recession that we saw after Hurricane Katrina, and then the Great Recession in the 2008 time period, and did some comparisons and made some predictions going forward, which was just fascinating. And by the way, you can watch recordings of all of these on our recovery site as well. We had Congressman Cedric Richmond joined us. We have had Congressman Richmond, Congressman Graves, Senator Kennedy, Senator Cassidy have all joined us since going under a stay-at-home order to provide information about the federal response and things like the Paycheck Protection Program, enhanced unemployment insurance, Main Street lending, all of the different programs that are available for businesses. We had Neil Bradley from the U.S. Chamber, who heads up all of their public policy and advocacy work, talking about that federal response, but also looking into the future, because we know that there's going to be a fourth stimulus bill of some kind. It will be different in nature from what we've seen, so probably not direct services and direct funding to businesses and individuals, but more likely things like infrastructure spending, ways to more stimulate the economy as opposed to kind of keep things afloat. And then today at I think 2:00, we've got doctors joining us from Baton Rouge General and the Baton Rouge Clinic, who are going to talk about safety and health in terms of returning back to the workplace. So giving an opportunity for folks to ask those questions about what should I be, what kind of protocols should I be putting into place? And we hope that we will have doctors from other hospitals in the area joining us in the coming weeks to do that again, because it's just such an important topic. We'll also be having next week, we believe, Speaker Schexnayder. So the Speaker of the House of Representatives here in Louisiana is going to join us next week to talk about the Louisiana legislative response. So we've got a huge lineup, right? I would encourage everybody to join us for our webinars. We also just have all the information about business recovery. So all of the federal programs, all of the Louisiana programs, right? There's a loan program here in Louisiana that LED is running. All of those programs, we have a breakdown of all of those programs, trying to turn these, 800 page pieces of federal legislation into 3 paragraphs that are relatively understandable. Oh, thank you, Rob, for pulling that up.
Yep.
To provide that information out to businesses in much more of a bite-sized way. We break down on our website, what is an essential industry? What is the gray area of essential industries? Folks who are allowed to be open, but just have some limitations under the governor's stay-at-home order. So there's a lot of information there. We put out something new at least once a day, often 2 or 3 times a day. We also have our weekly indicator dashboard, which is our attempt at trying to wrap our arms around the quantitative data that is telling us what things look like in the capital region. And so there you can find out what does unemployment in the capital region look like? What does hotel occupancy and revenue look like? What about the cost of oil? Fuel sales, have they been going down, and by how much? The answer is yes, and a lot. And so we've got all of that quantitative data. And then further, we've got something new that we stood up very quickly in response to investor requests, which is called BR Works. And so BR Works is actually a job board. So if you click on the BR Works site, if you are someone who is looking for work, BR Works has a list of a lot of jobs that are available here in the capital region for a variety of different industries. It also has a survey, and you can see that green button there. That survey is for HR managers. And so not only are we trying to provide a service for individuals to find work, but also to HR managers to pair them up, companies that are furloughing or laying off and companies that are hiring. So if you give us a little information about the workforce that you are looking for or looking to let go of, where there is overlap, we are bringing HR managers together to ease the transition for those employees from one company to another, so that we can do things like have a hiring company rely on the laying off company for background checks and other pre-employment checks, so that we can get those workers into new roles as quickly as possible.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, we stood that up in about 3 days, and have been really amazed at just the level of access that it has received, and what a success it seems to have been.
This is incredible.
Thank you. I can't tell you how proud I am of my team.
I mean, and this is such a hard resource to maintain, Liz. You got one web page with links and resources that change on a daily, hourly basis, which is insane. You've got multiple. You've got the recovery, the framework, BR Works. I've already used BR Works. I was highlighting some of the awesome companies that are out there in BR right now. BRAC investors doing their thing, killing it, and hiring. IT Inspired has already gotten a few hits from BR Works, so this does work. And
I'm so glad.
There's just not. I cannot say enough about what you have here. It is so vast. You've got to check it out. We've got a link running downstairs. I'm losing my brain right now. So many live streams and webinars and information going through this crazy Cro-Magnon head of mine. If you look down here, there's a ticker that says BRAC's recovery website is at brac.org/recovery. You go there, or even brac.org, you're going to see an easy way to find all these resources. This is a great website. Anyone, again, like she said, it's not behind a paywall. You don't have to pay for this. By all means, become an investor. I'm one. My company is one. But you should be a part of any chamber. The work that y'all do here, and I got a shout out to my friend April Wares in Livingston Parish. There's a lot of people, and then Ascension. There's a lot of folks that are coming together right now to make this work for our community. And we need to say thank you for your work behind the scenes, Liz, and everyone in your amazing team. But anything else that you can highlight and that maybe we haven't touched on yet that's still important that you need to get across?
I think the thing that I'm trying to make sure that everybody is thinking about is going back to that safe at work framework. It is just so important that we start thinking about how we recover from all of this. I know that so many of us were disappointed that we weren't able to start that recovery today, May 1st, when the original stay-at-home order was supposed to expire. But May 15th is going to be upon us before we know it. And so, let's all do our part to make sure that we are making those right individual decisions so that we do open on May 15th, and start thinking through what your business is going to need to do so that it can move forward. Start sharing information among your peers. By all means, give us feedback on the Safe at Work framework. We are constantly revising that document, providing more meat to it, and gathering up more resources to put more expertise into it. It's going to be critical that we get back to work as safely as possible and start the climb out of the economic impact that we have felt here in the capital region and really across the world.
There's over 50 organizations from around the state that have endorsed this. So y'all are not just, this isn't just local, everybody. This is, there's a lot of people, a lot of smart folks coming together to make this happen. And thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate so much every single one of our investors that makes it possible for us to respond and support businesses in times of need like this. We obviously have a body of work that we engage in to grow and diversify the economy as our regular activity. But it's times like this when chambers can really jump up and do what is needed to help businesses recover. And I'll tell you, I have pride every day in our organization and in my team for what they've been able to accomplish to help the community stand back up.
Wow.
Well, you do a lot of work outside crisis mode, so we need to bring awareness to that. I mean, Shout out to all my folks and friends. And you are an alum as well, also board member of the Leadership Baton Rouge Alumni.
Yes, in
And
fact.
I mean, there's so many things that you all do. There's so many workshops. You're doing webinars now. There's programs. There are committees that you can be a part of. Go ahead and give a little plug in there for what y'all do without crisis mode really quick, because that's important for people that maybe aren't investors now or do not know what the chamber does.
We are the lead economic development organization for the 9-parish capital region, and it is our mission to grow and diversify the Baton Rouge area economy by recruiting and retaining investment and jobs. And so my team in particular for BRAC, we're called the Economic Competitiveness Team, and it is our aim to create a quality of life and regulatory environment that is one where businesses want to stay and grow and build, and where people want to live and want to be employed. So we're all about quality of life and making Baton Rouge area the best place that it can be.
And quality of place, which is also important to think about. Love that committee as well.
Yes.
Dima, do you have any more questions? I mean, we could talk for days. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, every show, we always say this is my favorite show. Every show. So it's amazing. So Liz, I would like to end it back on a personal note.
Sure.
So I was watching, I was reading something on your feed. I think it was a week or so ago when your son came to you and said, and this is just based on memory. I remember him telling you, "I'm proud of you, Mom." And you said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you said no to the governor." So tell us what happened, because I think that was hilarious.
So no, it's out of context. So my sweet little boy, I had taken him for a walk around the neighborhood, and he was in some kind of a chitter-chattery mood. I mean, we left the house. And I had to drag him out the door. He did not want to go out, right? But he just wouldn't stop talking. He was walking 3 feet in front of me the whole time. We walked for probably a mile around our neighborhood, and he just talked nonstop. And at one point in his chit-chatting, he said, "Mama, you get to make a decision on which way we go on our walk as a reward for your good behavior."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, okay, what did I do, sweetheart? Thinking like I had given him a candy or something the night before, which is happening too often in this house, but I digress. And he said, "Well, you disagreed with the governor, Mama." Because I think he's just hearing me talk about the governor and the legislature and just all the work that we are doing so much. That is how he seems to have computed it in his sweet little 4-year-old head. And so there you go. I got to decide that we made a left turn at the stop sign, apparently because I disagreed with Governor Edwards. So
That's amazing.
There you go.
Understand what a governor is?
I've tried to explain to him what a governor is. I think he gets the leadership role. He understands that there are so many important decisions being made, but I think beyond that, not so much. For him, it's mommy and daddy who are the bosses. And so I'm not quite sure. And I honestly can't remember what decision of the governor's it was that I disagreed with. I must say that up front. So
That's too funny.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So are you taking more walks? What are you doing differently? Do you have time, Liz? I mean, I realize that if you have another meeting and I'm tying you up on a live stream, you don't really have a way to get off.
I'm happy to stay and chat. Absolutely. I love talking with y'all. I miss seeing you around town.
More chit chat because we're,
Sure.
I'm pretending like we're at lunch right now. I miss your face. I get to see it now virtually.
Yeah.
I love getting lunch with you. What are you doing now?
Lunch with you.
What are you doing now that's different that you have embraced and loved and you want to keep doing after this is over?
That I have embraced and loved. Yeah. I set my coffee pot now the night before. Everything is really different. I'm up a lot earlier. I'm up before the sun now in order to make enough time in my day to both be teacher and be an SVP over at BRAC. And so to find that time, our days are a lot longer, certainly, 12, 13-hour days are not out of normal right now. And so that's been something that's been certainly different. And then, all of the things that I think all of us are doing, going outside and walking around more. I mean, I look out my window and I see people going by on bikes. I see families running and walking, and everybody's kind of outside. I've never been so grateful to live in a neighborhood that has sidewalks. And so, we definitely go for walks every day. We're eating outside more often. I'm sure that folks are doing, if you have a space, or even if you don't have a space, like go sit on your front porch, right? And just enjoy some of that sunshine. I'm so grateful that we have been having lovely weather. It's not San Diego weather. It never will be, but we've been really having lovely weather here in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. Thank God. So that's been part of it. And I think also trying to be, as the mom of a 4-year-old, I'm trying to be intentional about making sure that I am aware that this situation, while very different for him, and I'd say he transitioned to it a lot more easily than my husband and I did, this situation is nonetheless very stressful for him, as stressful it is for us as adults, right? And so trying to be cognizant of that and have conversations with him about his feelings and about his friends and missing them and why are things different, and sort of put that into a framework that's going to make sense for a 4-year-old, I have found has been really important. And being intentional about spending time with him. I joke with my husband that I feel like we're raising a latchkey kid, even though he's right in the next room, because we just have to be in here working and getting things done. And so, to a certain extent, I think that there's a level of this that's good for him. It's creating independence for him. He's learning how to do things for himself. Like,
Yes.
My 4-year-old is going to get his breakfast on his own now, and things that he just never had to do before.
Yeah.
But also to be intentional about taking time to be a family together. I'm not one to play video games, but now I am really good at Cars 3 Driven to Win.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I'm skilled.
What's your high score?
So, I haven't quite gotten to 10,000 on the stunt showcase, but I am almost there. I'm this close. And so, we'll sit down and we play video games together, and we read a lot of books. Thank God for the library and the Libby app. I mean, we read books together all day long, right? And so just having that opportunity to really focus on, we're going to put this aside. We're going to close the door to the office and step outside the office and pay attention to our son. I know every parent is trying to figure their way through that. And I wish everybody so much luck and strength and patience and courage to be able to do all the things that we have to do.
Thank you.
Liz, the first time I met you, you were actually talking about education, and then because at the time, I think through BRAC, right? Like that was one of your roles was education, I think is when we touched base, and you changed my world that day in leadership Baton Rouge. Cause we were at BRCC, and you showed me or talked to me about BASIS coming to Baton Rouge, and shout out to the amazing job that they're doing. But what I keep hearing from the educators over there that have been doing a great job is like, keep reading to your kids. That's if there's one thing that you can do right now, it's keep reading. Yeah. And so and even Dima and I have talked about it. Like, we've got to get Mary Stein on this show. She's incredible. And what the library is doing right now is incredible. And you can also get a library card virtually right now for 2 months. You can sign up, and the amount of resources that come with it are crazy.
Yeah, so it's just incredible. And I didn't know, but the library's digital library also has books with narration in them. Yeah. And so even when I can't sit down and read to him, and I do try to make sure I am actually doing that, but he can just turn it on and it reads to him and it turns the pages. And so he's able to read those books and access all of that learning. It's really an incredible service. And Mary is just such a tremendous individual. Absolutely.
Yes.
Love her.
Very good. Well, thank you, Liz. This was wonderful. Thank you for sharing with us the amazing resources and also telling us about your personal life. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, my friends.
I'm having a live audience right now. Look.
There you go.
I love it. Not the only one. I'm not the only special one. So this has been great. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. It's been great to chit chat with you today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Please like and share this. Catch us back on the show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. And thank you, Liz. It's been great. Everybody stay safe out there. Let's return to work and stay at home safely. Bye-bye.
Bye.